Thank you so much, Chris. And Pete, we're ready to go whenever you are.
Thank you, and good evening, and welcome to the RNC Music Quiz. A lot of fun. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're all locked down, as you can see. Some of us have got longer hair than when we started this 14 weeks ago. The best of luck to everybody. I think there's a bit for everybody in this. I'll be asking a question. Susie will be telling you the answers. So let's start with round one, which is the test, round one, which is the strange facts. Okay. Strange fact number one. How did pianist and composer Robert Schumann keep his hands in good working order? How did the pianist Robert Schumann keep his hands in good working order? A, weekly ice baths. B, dipping his hands into the entrails of slaughtered animals. Regular hand yoga, which he pioneered. His wife Clara regularly sat on them. So ice baths, dipping his hands in slaughtered animals' entrails, regular hand yoga, or his wife sitting on his hands. That's question one. Okay, question two. Bit of fun, this one. Which country has more heavy metal bands per capita than any other? Is it the US, Iceland, Finland, or the United Kingdom? Which country has more heavy metal bands per capita than any other? US, Iceland, Finland, or the UK? Right, here's a risky one for you. Question three. Who wrote the song Lick My Bottom? Yes, I did say that. Who wrote the song Lick My Bottom? Was it the Pogues, Mozart, Elton John, or the Damned? Lick My Bottom, written by the Pogues, Mozart, Elton John, or the Damned. Question four. What is the relationship between Billie Holiday and Billy Crystal? What is the relationship between Billie Holiday and Billy Crystal? She was his aunt. She was his babysitter. He was named after her. They only share the first name. Was she his auntie? She his babysitter? He was named after her, or they just shared the same first name? Now, here's a trivia one for you. This is a good one, right? Okay. Question five, an ABBA question. I have an ABBA question. Why did ABBA wear shiny, sparkly outfits? Why did ABBA wear shiny, sparkly outfits? Bjorn's sister was a fashion designer. They were sponsored by a sequins manufacturer in their early years to blind the TV cameras or to get a tax break. Bjorn's sister was a fashion designer. They were sponsored by a sequins manufacturer in the early years to blind TV cameras to get a tax break. Question six, and the final question in round one. Why did notable Manchester United fan Rod Stewart enter the Guinness Book of Records in 1994? He held the largest ever free concert. He became the biggest selling artist of all time in Uruguay. He had the most successful album series by a single artist. He has the largest vocabulary of any artist. So that's Rod Stewart, Manchester United fan, entered the Guinness Book of Records in 1994. Did he have the largest ever free concert? He became the biggest ever selling artist in Uruguay. He had the most successful album series by single artists, and he's the largest vocabulary of any artist. That's your 6 questions. Let's hear from Sue the answers.
Hello, thank you very much, Pete. I'm just straighten my hat. It's a hairdresser-based issue. Okay, so before we get going, on behalf of everybody at the RNCM, I just wanted to welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for playing. We've got over 50 teams signed up, which is amazing. We know there are a lot of quizzes out there, so we're really, really grateful that you've all given your time to be here today. I just wanted to say some thank yous before we give you those first round answers. First, thank you to all of you. You are obviously here to have fun, win some great prizes. We've got some fantastic prizes for you. We've got a £100 Beaverbrooks voucher. Thank you to our friends at Beaverbrooks. We've got a £200 voucher for the RNCM restaurant. Hopefully we will be able to reopen that restaurant at some point. And we've got a beautiful, beautiful artist print for you by one of our alumni, who is fantastic mezzo-soprano Katie Rudge, also a brilliant artist. So that's the first thank you, because just by being here tonight, you are helping raise money for two fantastic causes. The first cause is the RNCM Student Hardship Fund. Since the beginning of this pandemic, I've been working our socks off to raise money for this fund, and thanks to our amazing community, we've raised over £20,000. And just by playing tonight, you have added £2,500 to that total, so thank you so much. This is a really difficult time for our students, as it is for many musicians. They've lost work, that many of them are out in part-time jobs, performing and gigging, working in cafes, bars and restaurants. All of that income has dried up for them, and a lot of them cannot access all of those government schemes. So it's really important for us as a college to help them, and we can only do that with your help, so thank you. You are also supporting our friends at the Manchester Foundation Trust. So that's the hospital down the road from us. Oftentimes, in ordinary times, our students would be down there playing for the patients. They can't do that at the moment. So by supporting us to support them, it means that we can do a little bit to help them in a very, very difficult time for them. So thank you for that. Thank you to Pete, who agreed to do this without hesitation. And obviously there are not many people who know more about music and the music industry than Pete. So we are so grateful that he's given up his time today. And we look forward to hearing some of those stories throughout the course of the evening. Thank you to Chris Pullen, who entertained us before we got going and has put his heart and soul into the music rounds that we're going to get to shortly. He is our junior fellow in repetitor here at the college, which for non-musicians playing is just a posh way of saying a pianist who plays for opera singers. So thank you to Chris. And my final thank you is to Jeff Thomason, the RNCM's librarian, because he is my co-quiz master and helped me pull together some of the questions. So if there are any tricky questions, you probably have Jeff to thank for those. So thank you very much. Finally, we are recording this evening's quiz. So at various points in the quiz, we're going to be inviting people in to have a chat with Pete. Obviously, if you want to do that, you can just press your raise hand button and then we'll bring you in to chat to Pete. Don't do that if you don't want to be recorded. So there you go. Right, without further ado, on to the answers to round one. So that first question, Robert Schumann, it is, rather disgustingly, B. So Schumann would often plunge his hands into the entrails of a dead animal to cure any illness he was suffering from. He was also a notorious drinker, and he once vandalized his own piano when intoxicated. Not sure how those facts are linked, but there you go. That was answer B to that first question. So well done if you got answer B. Question two, which country has more heavy metal bands per capita than any other? That is, I'm sure you all got this, Finland, with a staggeringly impressive 53 rock bands per 100,000 people. So rock on, Finland. Question three, who wrote the song Lick My Bottom? And that has been toned down for a family audience. The answer to that is Mozart. Mozart wrote a piece called Leck mich im Assen, probably said that very badly, but there we go, which is a canon in B flat major. And for people out there who know about such things, that is K number 231. So Mozart apparently was famed for scatologically naming his pieces and shocking his publishers. So there you go. Question four, what is the relationship between Billie Holiday and Billy Crystal? That is answer B. She was his babysitter. So the story here is that Commodore Records produced several of Billie Holiday's songs. One of the label's owners was Jack Crystal. Jack Crystal was Billy Crystal's father. So Billie Holiday would often visit the Crystals' home and she would babysit Billy Crystal. There you go. This is my favourite question too, Pete. Question five, the ABBA question. Love this one. So the answer to this, why did ABBA wear shiny, sparkly outfits? That is to get a tax break, because in Sweden in the 70s, no idea if this is still the case, but you could get a tax break on clothing as a musician, but only if you could prove that you would never be able to wear it in real life and it was only for stage use. Hence, they had to have all of the crazy sequins and sparkles. Okay, I hope you're all doing well. Final question for this round. Why did noticeable Manchester United and Celtic fan, Rod Stewart, enter the Guinness Book of Records in 1994? That is A. He held the largest ever free concert, which was held in Copacabana Beach, Rio. 4.2 million people attended. It was a New Year's Eve event. I would like to say that if you picked answer C, you don't get a point, but you can give yourselves a pat on the back, because answer C was that he had the most successful album series by a single artist. Rod Stewart does also hold that title, but he did not get that until 2010 for the Great American Songbook World Record. And that last one, the largest vocabulary of any recording artist, that credit belongs to Eminem, who has 8,818 words in his songs. So there you go, that's your round one answers. I hope you all did well. I hope you've all clicked next. If you haven't clicked next, click next. And then over to Pete and Chris for round two.
Okay, out of interest, Susie, the ABBA people were not the only people with tax breaks for certain unusual things. In Britain, you could get tax break on food if you entertained somebody. The only problem was you couldn't eat. You could only get the tax break if everybody else ate and you didn't. So can you imagine going to a restaurant, ordering 3 meals and one person didn't eat because he wanted a tax break?
That does not sound fun.
That's crazy. Right, we're going on to real names round, where Chris is going to play the tunes. They're female, well-known female artists, and I'm going to tell you what their real names are. Chris is going to give you a clue, and then we're going to see where we go. Right. Ella Margie Lana Yelich O'Connor. Chris? Thank you, Chris. The second one, slightly easier name, Priscilla Maria Veronica White. Chris? Written by Hal David and Burt Bacharach, of course, one of their top ones. Right, question 3. Stephanie Joanna Angelera Giamonata. Play the song, Chris. Love that song, Chris. Love it, love it. Right, here's a good one for you. Question 4. Mary Isabel Catherine Benedict O'Brien. Play that song. Two of the pop's classic songwriters, of course, Carole King and Jerry Goffin, when they were husband and wife. Right, question 5, Elizabeth Grant. Play that one. Thank you, Chris. Question 6, and I have to say, I didn't know this one. This definitely stumped me. Anna May Bullock. Anna May Bullock. Was that Cher, Tina Turner, Patti LaBelle, or Donna Summer? Difficult, difficult. Susie, where's the answers?
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to Chris. That was epic playing. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to give everybody a couple of minutes. We just need to make sure people have clicked next before we go through the answers. So can everybody please click next? And also, before we go into the answers, if anybody would like to get ready and put their hands up, because after we've given you the answers to this round, we would love for you to chat to Pete. So if you've got any burning questions for Pete, and trust me, he has amazing anecdotes and has worked with absolutely everybody everywhere. So ask him some questions because there's fabulous stories. Okay, so if you want to use your reactions key to raise your hand, and then we will be able to see whether anybody would like to ask Pete a question. So let's get round to answers underway. Okay, so first of all, you heard Chris there was playing Royals, and that is, of course, by Lord. So Ella Marie Jelani Yellick O'Connor, better known as Lord. Answer D. Number 2, Priscilla Maria Veronica White. So you heard Chris playing Anyone Who Has a Heart, which we've got Priscilla Black as the correct answer, but Pete actually informed me yesterday, which I did not know, was originally written for Dionne Warwick. So again, pat on the back if you got Dionne Warwick. It is the wrong answer. The answer we wanted was Priscilla Black, but there we go. That's right, Pete? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Priscilla, you know, her name was always Priscilla White. I mean, everybody knows her as Pat White, but the original version is by, of course, Dionne Warwick. And in fact, Priscilla Black covered about 4 of Dionne Warwick's songs. She had the hits in the UK, and Dionne Warwick had the hits in America. Dionne Warwick was certainly by far the writer's favourite artist they ever worked with. And I mean, Walk On By, it just goes on. I mean, you know, Burt Bacharach loved Dionne Warwick's voice, still does. If he does a concert, he always tries to get Dionne Warwick. She's just got the perfect voice.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. But obviously the answer this time round was Priscilla Black. So no prizes for Dionne Warwick. Okay, number 3, Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta. So you heard Chris there playing Poker Face, which is, of course, by Lady Gaga. So that was B, Lady Gaga. Number 4, Mary Isabel Catherine Bernadette O'Brien. And this was Quizmaster's choice because it's my favourite song by this artist. So you've heard Chris playing Going Back, and that is by the amazing Dusty Springfield. Number 5, Elizabeth Grant. You heard Chris there playing Born to Die, and that is by Lana Del Rey. So that was A, Lana Del Rey. And then the final question of this round, the one that foxed Pete, was Anna Mae Bullock. And you heard there Simply the Best, which is, of course, Tina Turner. So I hope you did well in that round. I'm just going to see, does anybody have their hand up? Lauren, do we have anybody who would like to ask Chris a question? I can see a couple of hands up. We're just going to bring you in now. We're going to turn on your video. Okay.
Okay.
There we go. We've got somebody coming in.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, we can't hear you, Golden Oldies. Have you got your microphone on? Oh. Oh, we can't hear
Hello?
you, unfortunately. Okay. No, unless we know sign language, we're struggling there with. Okay, we're going to bring somebody else in. Sorry, Golden Oldies, we couldn't hear you. Bye. Okay, Amber, let's see if we have any more luck. Amber Murray, can we hear you?
Hello, and hi, Pete. You've worked
How
with
you doing?
You've worked with some amazing people, amazing bands. I hate to ask who your favourite is, but who were you most impressed with of all the people you work with?
Well, probably the greatest vocalist as far as just being able to walk in the studio and absolutely nail it in one, Donna Summer.
Wow.
I mean, we used to sit, our studio was on the top of the building. We had 4 studios, and our room was on the top. And downstairs was the toilets, and they were quite old-fashioned toilets with tiled walls. And Donna used to go and tune up in there before she started. And nobody worked. The whole office block stopped while Donna Summer tuned up, because it was just so great to listen to this amazing voice coming out the toilet. It was like, you just didn't work. I mean, and she, you know, as a songwriter, you write a song, you sit down, you write the song, you've got it in your head how it sounds. It's when an artist like Donna Summer sings it back to you that you go, oh, I wrote that song, you know, and that's that moment that a writer, I think, is privileged when somebody sings this song and he knows it's worked, or they know it's worked. And even when it gets to the number 1, it's not the same. It's the first time you hear that singer sing it, because it's yours. You're in the room with them. It's your song. They're personally singing it to you. When it gets to number 1 and millions are playing it, it's not your song anymore. It becomes their song. And Donna was always really, you know, aware of that. So she would come into the studio. I mean, she would learn the song in literally 4 minutes. I mean, literally, and off she'd go. And we just sat there spellbound.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Vanda. I did see another hand go up. Does anybody else want to ask Pete a question before we go to round 3? There were a couple of hands up a minute ago.
Great question, Mum.
It was a great question. We agree. Anyone else want to have a go at asking Pete a question? You will get another chance later. So, oh, there we go.
Hello.
Brilliant. Nice to see you, Daniel.
Hello. Hello, Pete. I used to go to RNCM before I went to boarding school. So, nice to see you again. I just wanted to ask you, what were your kind of main difficulties you had as being in the music industry, and how did you overcome them?
Major difficulties, did you say?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, we're talking, I don't want to sound old here, which I am, but I don't want to, you know, I hate people who say, when I were a lad, it were different. But the truth is, it really was very different. I mean, we didn't have headphones. I mean, you literally had a turntable. We were lucky that, because I worked for Mecca, which was a big dance room or ballroom organisation, they had turntables that had vary speed on, but you had to cue the records by putting your thumb on top of the stylus and feeling the groove, and then dragging the record back a half a turn to get it to go. So you never actually knew when it was going to start. So that was difficult. Also difficult in the clubs in there was very different. I mean, we had to make people dance. I mean, if you, as a DJ, people stopped dancing, the ballroom manager would actually sack you.
All right.
And then there was a period where he wanted everybody at the bar. So you were expected to clear the floor by playing the worst record you got. But if you didn't, he'd come over and tell you it again, unless you clear the floor. So every 30 minutes, we used to have a very slow song. So all the guys would go to the bar. The girls would dance, but the guys wouldn't dance, okay? And the other thing was, you couldn't dance on a Sunday in Britain. That was illegal. So on a Sunday night to open the disco, we used to have to put chairs on the floor. So you don't have to be bright to realise what happened. Everybody took them off the floor and put them back on the tables. The other thing, that once you finished a dance, the girls went to one side of the ballroom and the boys went to the other side. And I used to have to say, this is true, and your next dance, please. And I was supposed to play a few different sorts of rhythms, of course you never did. But it was a very, very, very different situation.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm a ballroom dancer myself, so I know how important.
Oh,
music.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, the worst job I ever had, I have to tell you, the worst job being, because, you know, I got paid very well because I've got a very good crowd. But every 6 weeks, I used to have to go in on a Sunday and scrub the dance floor and take all the chalk off.
Yeah.
Because we used to have Strictly Come Dancing or ballroom dancing on a Tuesday night, the old BBC programme, Come Dancing it was called. Well, I have to tell you, ballroom dancers are the most difficult people to work with. The floor is either too fast or too slow, and I always got it in the neck. So you're either putting more chalk on the floor or more wax. And it was the worst job I ever had in my life.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, that question that we couldn't get to from the Golden Oldies, so we've had that on the chat from them, Pete. So their question was, they wanted to ask, who is the worst artist that you've ever worked with? Name and shame.
Well, I won't name names because that's not fair. I mean, they probably hated me as much as I hated them. But we had a rule, and it really was a rule. If we didn't like the artist, we never worked with them again. Simple. So you look at records we had one hit with and never worked again. It tells you the answer. You know, being in the studio is such a hard job. You actually beat yourself up. And if you're not, you know, if everybody's not doing the same task, don't do it. Go and play football.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. And everybody has got a chance to ask Pete some questions later on. We're going to crack on with round 3, but do get thinking of your other questions. And if you get the chance, we'll bring you in a bit later on. Pete, it's over to you, round 3.
Susie, thank you very much. And this is the instruments round. Okay. Question 1. The Metropolitan Museum in New York is the home to the world's oldest example of which instrument? It was made by Waterman Christopher in 1720. Bartolome Cristofori, 1720, is obviously in Italian. Was it a piano, a violin, a bassoon, or a saxophone? Did he make the piano, a violin, a bassoon, or a saxophone? Okay. Question 2, a little easy to pronounce this. What guitar featured on the album cover of Bruce Springsteen's iconic album, Born to Run? Now, this is not as easy as you think this. Was it a Fender Telecaster, a Fender Esquire, a Gibson Les Paul, or a Gibson Flying V? Which guitar featured on the album sleeve of Born to Run? Was it a Fender Telecaster, a Fender Esquire, a Gibson Les Paul, or a Gibson Flying V? Not as easy as you think, that one. Question 3. Which of these pop stars is also a classical trained flautist? Elton John, Pat Benatar, Annie Lennox, Johnny Greenwood. Which of those artists was a classically trained flautist? Say them again. Elton John, Pat Benatar, Annie Lennox, or John Greenwood? Okay. Question 4. Now, we'll see how good you are. Manchester band's 808 State loved synthesizers, but which synth appears on the iconic Pacific State with its memorable sax part? Is it, I said a synthesizer question for you, a Roland SH-101, a Moog Mini Moog, a Yamaha CS-80, or a Korg M1? That's right. Pacific State, which synth played the sax part? Was it a Roland SH-101, a Mini Moog, a Yamaha CS-80, or a Korg M1? Question 5. Which instrument was played by the Manchester-based musician Carl Fuchs? Carl Fuchs. Does he play the violin, the viola, the cello, or the double bass? Manchester-based musician Carl Fuchs, does he play the violin, the viola, the cello, or double bass? Question 6. It's a Prince question, okay? How many instruments did Prince play on his debut album? How many instruments did he play? Was it 2, 6, 12, or 27? How many instruments did Prince play on his debut album? 2, 6, 12, or 27? Let's go to Sue and find out what the answers are.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, we'll just give you a minute to click next. So if everyone can click next, we will then get on with the answers. I'll just give you a second to do that. Okay, so hopefully everybody has now clicked next. We'll go through those answers. So that first one, The Instrument in the Met in New York by Bartolomeo Cristofori, is a piano. That is a piano. So well done if you picked piano. The slightly trick question, the guitar on the front of Born to Run, it's a Fender Esquire, not a Telecaster. That is a common misconception. They look very similar. It is the Esquire B. So hopefully you weren't caught out by that one. Which of these pop stars is also a classically trained flautist? So all of these pop stars were classically trained, but not all in the flute. So Elton John studied piano at the Royal Academy of Music. Pat Benatar was a singer at Juilliard in New York. Johnny Greenwood plays countless instruments, but not the flute. The answer we were looking for was Annie Lennox, who studied for 3 years at the Royal Academy of Music in London, playing the flute. And then the synth geek question. So I'm hoping that any Mancunians playing this got this one right. The synth that features on Pacific State is the Roland SH-101. And some synth facts for you, because I know we have synth geeks in the crowd. The Mini Moog featured on Autobahn by Kraftwerk. The Yamaha CS80, you can hear that on Blade Runner by Vangelis and Africa by Toto. And the Korg M1 is on Madonna's Vogue. So there you go, some synth facts for you. The instrument played by Carl Fuchs. So Carl Fuchs was the sometimes principal cellist of the Halle and also the cellist with the Brodsky Quartet. So that answer is the cello. And then the final question for this round, how many instruments did Prince play on his debut album? I'm going to take a deep breath because the answer is D, 27. Precocious Prince. So he did all the vocals as well as electric guitar, acoustic guitar, bass, bass synth, singing bass, fuzz bass, electric piano, acoustic piano, mini moog, poly moog, ARP string ensemble, ARP pro solos, Oberheim 4-voice, clavinet, drums, synth drums, water drums, slapstick, bongos, congas, finger cymbals, wind chimes, orchestral bells, wood blocks, brush clap, tree bell, hand clap, and finger snaps. Okay, back to you, Pete.
Clever side, I hate clever people. Right, round four. Round 4 is the Manchester Music Round. Okay. First question. Which French composer's cousin was once the organist at the former Utilitarian Chapel in Upper Brook Street, Manchester? Was it Claude Debussy, George Bizet, Maurice Ravel, or Eric Satie? Whose cousin was the organist at the former Utilitarian Chapel in Upper Brook Street, Manchester? Debussy, Bizet, Ravel, or Satie? Difficult one, that. Right, question number 2. This is a good one. How many people attended the famous Sex Pistols 1978 gig at Manchester Free Trade Hall? Was it 42, 86, 142, 224? Was it 42, 86, 142, and 224? Question 3. Which Manchester-based band released their album A Fever Dream in 2017? Was it the Dutch Uncles, Delphic, Wayloof, Everything? Who released the album A Fever Dream in 2017? The Dutch Uncles, Delphic, Woolef, or Everything? Now here's a question. I know the answer to this one. I think I do. Castlefield's Congregational Chapel on Deansgate is part of Manchester's musical history. Okay. Why? Was it Factory Records head office based there? Sir Harrison Birtwistle premiered his opera The Mask of Orpheus there. The hit Steps Tragedy was mixed there. Liam and Noel used to attend Sunday school there. Okay. So Deansgate and the chapel, what happened there? What was famous? Was it Factory Records head office? Did Sir Harris Birtwistle start his opera, The Mask of Orpheus there? Did Steps mix their tragedy there? Or Liam and Noel used to attend Sunday school there? Okay. Question 5. Which primary school did the Bee Gees attend? Barry Kidd paid a visit there in 2013. Chawton Park, Oswald Road Primary, Brookburn Primary, Barlow Hill Primary. Barlow Hall Primary. Chawton Park, Oswald Road Primary, Brookburn Primary, or Barlow Hill Primary. And finally, and this is a good one, Sue knows a lovely answer to this. Question 6, the Halley Orchestra, which until 2011 claimed to be the UK's oldest professional symphony orchestra and the 4th oldest in the world, was founded by the German conductor and pianist Charles Halley to perform at the Manchester Arts Treasures exhibition. But what year? Was it 1840, 1845, 1857, or 1863? What year did the Halley Orchestra start? Was it 1840, 45, 57, or 1863? Difficult one. Now then, over to Sue.
Okay, so hopefully you've all had a chance to hit next and submit those answers. I'm going to go through those for you now. So that first question, the French composer whose cousin was once an organist of the former Unitarian Chapel on Upper Brook Street. And as Pete pointed out, this is a hard question, which means this is a Jeff question. So the answer to that is Claude Debussy. Question 2, how many people attended that famous Sex Pistol 1976 gig at Manchester Free Trade Hall? So the joke in Manchester is everybody seems to have attended that gig, or at least they say they did. But in fact, only 42 people were there, although some of the people who were there went on to be incredibly influential to Manchester music. So some of the famous names who were there: Tony Wilson, Peter Hook, Bernard Sumner, Morrissey, Johnny Marr, Martin Hamnet, Marky Smith, and the one that surprised me, Mick Hucknall. Answer 3, which Manchester band released their album A Fever Dream in 2017? This is the very wonderful, very talented Everything Everything, and they actually have their 5th album coming out in August, so look out for that. Lovely, lovely chaps. They've been to the college and done masterclasses. Very nice lads. Okay, question 4, Castlefield Congregation Chapel. There's a reason Pete knows the answer to this. That is because the Steps hit Tragedy was mixed there. So Pete, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Congregation Chapel on Deansgate?
Well, you didn't know this yesterday when we rehearsed this, but I bought the studio off Factory Records, off Tony Wilson. Tony Wilson called me and said that he got this building on Deansgate. He knew I was looking for a studio in Manchester, and I purchased it because Factory had got themselves into a little bit of financial trouble at that time. Not only did we mix all the Steps records there, but I did a couple of Whitney Houston there, and I also did quite a few other bits and pieces, and Donna Summer there. So it was easy for me to go there. It was an ideal setting. It was just fabulous. It was just, you know, nobody bothered you. You just, footballers would drop in. Liam Gallagher used to pop in all the time, or Noel did, to borrow strings for his guitar because he worked at the gasworks across the road, you know. And I went to a party with Rick Astley about 3 years ago, and Noel came over and said, I owe you for a few guitar strings, you know. So you never know who popped in the everybody used to pop in, you never knew who was going to pop in.
It's amazing. Before we get to the next answers, because you've mentioned Rick Astley, you gave me the most amazing fact yesterday. Can you share that, the Rick Astley President of the United States fact? Because we might not get to it otherwise, and it's an absolute gem.
Okay. The point I was making was you write a song and, you know, like I said earlier, you just don't know what you've written. And we wrote Never Gonna Give You Up about a girlfriend I had in Newton Le Willows. And so it goes on. But the song, Rick Astley, has the honour that 4 presidents of the United States have used his songs for their inaugural speeches. President Reagan and Gorbachev used Together Forever when they sold the Reykjavik Peace Accord. And Obama called me, or tweeted me, to say it was the first song that him and his wife ever danced together with. Not bad for a song written in Newton Le Willows, is it?
Love that. I love that. Brilliant. Okay, moving on back to the answers. So the primary school that the Bee Gees attended and that Barry Gibb paid a visit to back in 2013. So hello to the Cholton Massive, that is the Oswald Roald Primary School in Cholton. And then the final question of this round, the Halle Orchestra was formed in 1857. So the answer is C, 1857. And the fact that I was telling Pete yesterday is that there's a little bit of contention around that, because as Pete rightly said, the Halle did claim until 2011 that they were the UK's oldest professional symphony orchestra. The RLPO in Liverpool had a bit of beef with that, typical Liverpool Manchester stuff. And they in fact claimed that they were the UK's oldest professional symphony orchestra. Anyway, it took the Advertising Standards Agency to wrestle this one out, and in 2011 they determined that in fact the RLPO were founded in 1840, and therefore the Halle, not the UK's oldest symphony orchestra. So there you go, Liverpool and Manchester, it's just always a thing, Pete.
Lost out again, you see, to Liverpool.
I know, we don't like that.
The first railway in the world, everybody, but the first railway station in the world, everybody says was Manchester. Wrong. It was in Liverpool, because it was the Liverpool to Manchester Railway, not the Manchester to Liverpool Railway.
Not happy.
Right.
And they're beating us at the
trains.
football.
Let's go with it, Susie. Let's get on to the next round. Now, this is my favourite round. I love this round because Chris plays some wonderful tunes.
Hello, I'm still here.
We're talking film music. So, Chris, are you ready there?
Yep.
Name the Vietnam movie which featured this piece of music. My favourite all-time piece of music, Richard Wagner's, of course. Was it in Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Apocalypse Now, or The Deer Hunter? Was it in Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, or The Deer Hunter? You should know that one. Right. Now then, the second question. This is a very famous opening for music of the 2001 Space Odyssey. Play the song, Chris. But you know that's Space Zarathustra, but can you name the composer? Was it Johann Strauss I, Richard Strauss, Johann Strauss II, or Gustav Mahler? Was it Johann Strauss I, Richard Strauss, Johann Strauss II, or Gustav Mahler? Who wrote Also Straight Zarathustra? I like saying that, so I'll say it again. Right. Next question. Name the Vietnam movie that this piece of music comes from. Adagio for Strings by, of course, Barber, one of my 8 discs I took to my desert island. But which film was it from? Was it from Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, The Deer Hunter? Was it Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, or The Deer Hunter? Right, piece of music 4, the music that started a dynasty of movies, but who composed it? Was it Hans Zimmer, Nino Rota, John Williams, or John Barry? Was it Hans Zimmer, Nino Rota, John Williams, or John Barry? Question 4. The music that start. Oh, sorry. Question 5. Got carried away with that piece of music, Chris. I have something in my eye. Name the composer. And here goes for the Russian. Right, okay. Sergei Rachmaninoff, Piano Concerto No. 2. Sergei Vasilenko. Sergei Prokofiev. And Sergei Tenyov. Sorry, my Russian's appalling. But get the Sergei, they're all Sergeis. So Vasilenko, Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, or Tenyov, who wrote that piece of music. Sorry about the pronunciation. Number 6, name the 1940 movie. Play the song. Was the movie Porgy and Bess, Rhapsody in Blue, American in Paris, or Shall We Dance? Was the movie title Porgy and Bess, Rhapsody in Blue, American in Paris, or Shall We Dance? So, the questions, now the answers, please.
Okay, brilliant. And thank you so much to Chris. Wonderfully played. I could have listened to that last one for a lot longer. Maybe we'll get the chance later. So that first one, the Vietnam War film using Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, is of course Apocalypse Now. That second piece, so also Sprach Zarathustra, is by Strauss, Richard Strauss. So that's B, Richard Strauss. The Vietnam War film that uses Adagio for Strings by Samuel Barber is Platoon. And then the Star Wars question is John Williams. So John Williams obviously has composed so many different film scores, Star Wars, Superman, Jurassic Park, just a ton of film scores. Those other composers mentioned, so John Barry, very famous for James Bond, Nino Rota, The Godfather, and Hans Zimmer, more recent, composed Gladiator, Dark Knight. And my favourite Hans Zimmer fact, Pete, he also appeared in the video for Buggles' Video Killed a Radio Star. There you go. But the answer we were looking for, John Williams. And then I have something in my eye. The music from Brief Encounter was Sergei Rachmaninoff. So that was indeed Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, beautifully played by Chris. And then that final question, so get ready to submit your answers. The 1945 movie title, so those are all George Gershwin movie titles, but the one that we were looking for was B, Rhapsody in Blue. So well done to everybody who got those right. Okay, so you now need to click next and then finish, and then that will start to submit the answers to us. So it'll take a few minutes for you all to submit your answers and then for us to get those answers processed and see who our winner is, which gives us tons of time for you all to ask some amazing questions. So do you want to, there we go. We've got a hand raised by Jeff and Jose. Okay, we've got
So can I just say, what's very interesting about Adagio's strings, right, is by Barber. It really is quite interesting that all war movies and we use it at the Remembrance Day. Use probably the sweetest piece of music ever, because probably it's the one piece of music that does evoke tranquility. So in a war of horror and violence, Adagio for strings is almost just perfect to the counterbalance. I mean, it played obviously at the Cenotaph every year. It's just brilliant.
Beautiful music. Okay, we have Jeff. Jeff, what's your question for Pete? Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Pete.
Quizmaster.
Hi, Pete.
Hello, Jeff.
Susie tipped me off to the fact that you were a big Wagner fan. So
Yes.
when did you get the Wagner bug?
When I was a kid, and I mean, as a young kid, about 7 or 8, I saw a record in a record store with a fabulous sleeve, and it was 19 and sixpence. That's under a pound, and I bought it, and it was Ride of the Valkyries, The Flying Dutchman, and Tannhäuser, and I played it at home on a Danzet record player, and it blew me away completely. I mean, I was riveted to the spot. I mean, it was like electrifying for me. I was into pop music at that time, like Elvis Presley and stuff like that, and the Everly Brothers. But I just kept playing this record over and over and over again, particularly Tannhäuser, because it's so sad. I figured that it made me feel so lonely that if I played it enough, I went outside and be mates with everybody, because nothing got me down as much as Wagner did. So I wanted to feel sad, I got sad, and then I went outside and felt happy again.
Are you watching the opera?
I can tell you a really funny story about The Ring. I've seen The Ring about 5 times, and I saw The Ring at Covent Garden, and my lawyer and I used to take it in turn to buy the tickets. And so one cycle he would buy the tickets and I would buy the dinner, and the next one I would buy the tickets, he would buy the dinner. So we came to the final of the 4, we came to the last cycle, and I got to the box office early, and he was in court, and the opera started at 4:30, but he assured me he'd be there. So I went up to the box office, he'd bought the tickets, and I won't say the firm's name, but I went to the box office and I said, could I have 2 tickets in the name of the law firm? They went, sorry, no, there's no tickets here on that. Well, so I gave the lawyer's name. Is the ticket? No, there's no name. Gave my name. Said, no, sorry, Mr. Waterman, there's no tickets here at all. As I'm doing this, a guy popped from around the corner of the ticket desk and said, Mr. Waterman, you're regularly here, and I see you've seen all of these. What's happened? I said, well, my lawyer's bought the tickets, and he's in a court case. He's not going to be here till 4:20. Oh, he said, we've got no tickets left, Mr. Waterman. We're all sold out. So, and I was gutted because it was particularly good, this series. So he said, but don't worry, I'm sure we can sort you something out. And this is a true story. I sat behind the conductor with my mate in the orchestra pit, and for the whole piece, it was like heaven, and the conductor even gave me his book at the end and signed it to me. I mean, because I'm one of the only people on Desert Island Disc that actually picked 4 pieces of one composer, and that was Wagner.
I got to see The Ring for free because I was freelancing as a music critic at the time, so I got paid to go and watch The Ring. It was Scottish Opera in 2003.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you either love Wagner or hate Wagner. I mean, if you want to torture somebody, send them to Lohengrin, but if you get somebody who's sensitive to music, I think even though they don't like it, and the guy I took one of my staff to see Flying Dutchman, and she hated opera, came out absolutely converted, just absolutely converted,
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
I think we've got another question coming in. I think we might be bringing in Jose. Yes.
Hello. Hi, Pete.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing? This relates to either someone who you have had in your portfolio or whether it hasn't been in your portfolio. What is the best concert you have been to and why? Someone that just had you focused the whole time.
The best
Concert you have been to.
concert. Oh, easy. Two. There's absolutely two. One changed my life and the other one changed my career. The first concert, now we had in the questions, you heard a question about how many people turned up to watch, Sex Pistols. Well, the bigger question was how many people turned up for the first Beatles gig in Coventry at the Matrix Ballroom? And the answer's 10, and I was one of them. And after seeing the Beatles that night, there was no other job for me in my life because they were just so different. And the best concert, without a question, I saw David Bowie 17 times on the Serious for Moonlighting tour, and that started my career because I just realised what Bowie was doing and the way he was working the audience. And it was that, I'd been DJing for years, could never quite put it all together. But seeing Bowie, who I love Bowie, seeing it, Let's Dance, I went, got it. He's playing pop songs.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Jose. We're going to bring in Susan, but while we bring in Susan, I've had a question on the text from Margaret and Lucy, who are asking, what was the first record you ever bought, Pete?
Doris Day, Deadwood Stage.
Brilliant.
That didn't take long to dance.
No, exactly. Well, that's perfect because now Susan's right.
3 and 9pence from Rediffusion Records on the Walsgrave Road, Coventry, on a Wednesday.
Oh, we can't hear you, Susan. Is your microphone on? Okay, give it another try.
We lost Sue.
Yeah, can't hear you. Sorry. Type your question in the chat. Nice to see you. Okay, I can see another hand up. Okay, so we've got a couple of hands up. I think we're just bringing in Petra, and then we've got a question from Rob. And hopefully Susan will type her question in the chat. Okay, can we try bringing in Rob? There we go. Hi, guys.
Can you hear us?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Pete. Just curious, you obviously mentioned some great musicians that you've worked with over the years. I really enjoyed your story about Donna Summer when you encounter someone who can really sing. It's brilliant. Are there any people that you would have loved to have worked with but never got the chance to? Who
Johnny Mathis.
And why?
Johnny Mathis, probably the greatest male singer other than Marvin Gaye. And I met Marvin a couple of times when he wasn't in a very good place. So that was never going to happen. But I had lunch with Johnny Mathis and we agreed to work together. But the record company hated Stockgate Waterman so bad, they wouldn't do the deal. But I had a very nice day with Johnny Mathis, who I thought is the perfect, male singer. And I guess maybe sometimes fate works in your favour that you don't actually work with somebody you really want to work with. I mean, working with Cliff Richard was really difficult because as a kid, we all bought his record. Mike bought his records. I bought his records. Matt bought his records. And suddenly you're in this room with a legend, because we were like 10 or 11 when we were buying Cliff Richard records. And suddenly here he is in the studio, and we're making his 1,000th single, you know, his 100th single. So we're there making it, and so no pressure, you know. It's like he's made 100 singles, he's got to have a #1, and so and this aura, you know, and this myth surrounds Cliff Richard. So, you know, we believe that. So, how do you write a song for Cliff Richard? Because he's squeaky clean, right? I mean, you sort of can't write any sex lyrics, and you can't. So we had this real dilemma. So I said, look, why don't we write a song, you know, that says, you know, I just don't have the heart. So if he was in love, he wouldn't fall out with somebody because he wouldn't have the heart to tell him he didn't love him anymore, right? So we had this song, we wrote this song, and what we did, because we knew it would be difficult the way we worked for Cliff to get hold of, we broke the song up in 6 pieces and recorded the 6 pieces separately. He was, you know, obviously at the same time, but we never told him which piece went where. So we said, this piece here, that piece there. So he sang a chord. So he never heard the song, you see, never heard it. Okay, never heard the song entirety. Off he goes to Australia to do a tour. When he comes back, we get a call. Cliff wants to come and hear the single. Yeah, come on by. Played in his hand. He looked at us and went, I didn't sing that song. And we went, yes, you did. He went, play it me again. And he went, oh my God, I see what you've done. You've stitched it all together from 5 or 6 different vocals. I went, yeah. And he went, but you're wrong. I said, we're wrong about what? He said, I would have the heart. And it was his, it actually went out as his 99th single. It went to #2. And we played with him at Wembley. So I've only ever played 2 gigs for Stock Aitken and Waterman, and they were both at Wembley. Not bad, is it?
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank
Pleasure.
you so much. Okay, I've got Susan's question, so I'm going to read out Susan's question while we try and bring Petra back in. So Susan's question was, I was brought up on two-tone music as a teenager. I'd love to hear more about your role with Coventry favourites, the Specials. Brackets, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read this bit out, but she claims that she still has a crush on Terry. So sorry if I wasn't supposed to read that out, Susan.
Okay. Well, people know me for all my pop stuff, but people forget that I was around for a long time before Stock Aitken Waterman. And I was a massive DJ in Coventry. And I used to run the big dance nights there. And I had 2 dancers on the stage, Neville and Lindbell. And the kid that lived around the corner of me was Terry. And they started rehearsing a band, and I went to see them at the General Wolf. They were called the Coventry Automatics. And so I thought they were brilliant. I managed them for 2 years. We did the first recordings, Too Much Too Young, Jaywalking. And I took that tape to every single record company. I took it to Madonna's manager, and they all said it was just punk reggae. And so I gave them the tape back and wished them well. And I remember driving, I just picked up a new van for my record business, you know, for my promotion business. I was driving home from Surrey, and they were on top of the pops. They was #1, and I thought, how ironic is this? Here am I driving a van, and they're at #1.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, we're going to try and get Petra back in. She had a screen issue earlier, but hopefully that is fixed. Yay, there we go.
Hello. Pete, in your fantastic career, you must have had many highlights, but is there one sort of standout moment for whatever reason? It could be happy, a sad one thing that you think, yes, that was amazing that I experienced this.
Yes, yeah. Very emotional, so I might get emotional now, but we did the Hillsborough record, the first Hillsborough record. And I was the DJ on Radio City in the morning as they went off to Sheffield. And I was doing a Hitman and Her that evening from Blackpool. So we watched the accident happening live on the beach through the Granada scanner. And that evening when I got back home, there was a message from Radio City in Liverpool. Could I get in touch with them? It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I called and they were talking about the tragedy. So I said, okay, we'll do a record, but everybody on the record has to be from Liverpool. So I called Paul McCartney, I called the Christians, and I called Ollie Johnson, and I called, Jenny Marsden. We made the record and it was fantastic. Paul McCartney tried to redo the vocals about 18 times, but thank God that at the time, his wife absolutely loved it and just said, tend to bugger off, which I did. Not many people tell Paul McCartney to bugger off, but I did. Then when the record went to #1, we were making the video because we hadn't got a video. They decided that, if you remember all those flowers at Anfield, the whole place was rammed. And they decided that ours would be the last wreath on the pitch. And we would make the video of me walking down the players' tunnel and putting the last wreath on the pitch 24 hours before they cleared. I park in the car park at Anfield, just parked, took the wreath out the back, and I never, ever, ever saw anything again. People lifted me up above their heads and carried me to the ground. They passed me down the queue so that I actually arrived at Anfield on the top of people's heads. And I just thought, what an amazing, amazing thing that is. That's what music does. It has that emotional effect that people forget whatever the tragedy is. And for that one split second, you've done something to help somebody, and it's all because it's a tune. It was, I'll never forget it. It's the most special moment in my life.
Thank you. That is very beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you so much, Pete. That was an amazing story. We have one final question that has come through from Robert Hassel, and it's a great question. If you're all right, we'll try and do one more.
Okay. Yeah.
So Robert's question is: in the 60s, we had Motown and Stax. We had Philly International in the 70s. In the 80s, we had Stock Aitken and Waterman. In today's music industry, could there ever be a music production house like what's gone before? And if so, what do you think it would take?
Oh yes, I think you have. You've got, one of my old proteges, Steve Mack. He's on the roll. My God, he's like him and Max Martin. I mean, they just are the same as we were, but it's a different industry now. We took on the world, the three of us. Now, with the record companies, you need millions of pounds. It's not the same. Streaming is great, but if you're not doing a deal with the streamers, you're not going to break the records. You're not going to find a kid from Newton Le Willows called Rick Astley from nowhere. It doesn't exist.
And I've got a follow-up question that actually leads on nicely from that. So it's a question that's come in from our Q&A. Obviously, we are a music college. You must have seen so many young kids trying to make it. What would be your advice to a young person today?
You've picked the most amazing profession and probably the most difficult profession. Love it, enjoy it, and let it take you where it takes you. Because as long as you can play music, you will have friends. You will have special moments. So even if you don't go on to become the next big thing or achieve anything, as long as you enjoy it and entertain people, that's the gift of music. It's special.
Amazing, thank you. I can't think of a better way to end, so I'm nervous to ask if anybody else has any other questions, because that's such a great way to end. But I will ask it. Would anybody else like to ask Pete any final questions before we tell you who has actually won the quiz? I almost forgot why we were here. Okay. I can't see. Oh, I can see one hand up. Okay, Rob, we will sneak you in. Rob Ward with a question, and then we will get to the winners. Okay, we'll just bring Rob in.
Hello, can you get me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can't see you, but we can hear you. Oh, no, now we can see you as well.
There we go. Hi, Pete. You're right.
Yeah, good, thank you.
So just wondering, why do you think it didn't work out for Hearsay after Pop Stars?
Why didn't it work out for?
Was it what they call Hearsay, the band from Pop Stars?
You know, the thing with all those competitions is, because you're on television for 16 weeks, once you come off, you know, a Saturday night, you have an amazing, difficult time of keeping it up. And so if you're not the winner, I mean, the winner's song was a great song, but, you know, Simon Cowell, whether you love him or hate him, has an amazing ability to pick great songs and keep them coming. So him and I were part of the first series. We walked away because of the way the music was being run. When Simon and I started Pop Idol, Simon's choice of songs was, and you know, I work with him now. I mean, we're in the middle of America's Got Talent at the minute. Britain's Got Talent finished this part on Saturday night. This is an interesting fact. We go through on Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent 500 songs a year. We make 500 tracks a year. I mean, sometimes we have 6 hours to write and routine an orchestra because Simon will change his mind at the last moment. I don't know any other record companies or record producers that get put under the pressure of all those people on those shows. They're unbelievable.
Wow. That's great.
And, you know, and the other thing that you've got to give every contestant a shot. So it's not somebody walks in and you think, my God, they couldn't shout Cole. You can't do that. You've got to make the best track possible. You can recommend, which I try and do all the time, the song that suits their voice. But if they want to sing Queen, they're going to sing Queen. Even if they can't sing a note like Freddie Mercury, they're going to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And if you watch the series, you know, like last year, everything was Dance Monkey. Everybody wanted to sing Dance Monkey. And still in America at the moment, they're still all singing Dance Monkey. You know, after, I think it's since 2002, so it's nearly 18 years, every year it's the same song that drives you nuts. Whether it's Shakira, whether it's any, you know, Umbrella, Ella, Umbrella. And this last year it was Monkey. And you sit there, you know, okay, what are you going to sing? I want to sing Dance Monkey. You think, oh, no, anything but bloody Dance Monkey.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Pete.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Rob.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, we've got to get to the answers. Somebody has to win this quiz. So, drum roll. I don't have a drum roll. You're at a piano, Pete. You could give us a drum roll on the piano. In fact, we should, I'm just going to keep people hanging on for that little bit longer. Tell us about the piano that you are sat at, the amazing piano.
This piano I'm sat at, as you can see here, is a baby grand that belonged to the Beatles in Apple Studio. I purchased Apple Studios when Apple was disbanded. I got all the equipment and all the building, but I kept this piano, brought it back to Cheshire. It's badly in need of tuning, but you know, the Beatles sat at it, so I don't care. Exactly right, rock and roll. Okay, so in joint third place, congratulations to El Quizarable
22 points, and also with 22 points, Keyboard Wizard. So well done to El Quizarable and Keyboard Wizard. We'll get in touch with both of you over email tomorrow, and we'll figure out what we're going to do about splitting a third prize, but we will make it work somehow. In second place on 23 points, drum roll, it is Fool's Old. So second place, Fool's Old. And again, we'll email you tomorrow with the details of your prize. And first place, congratulations, with a whopping 24 points, which is really good, The First Order. So congratulations. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Okay, fantastic.
Oh,
thank you so much, everybody. If I could crave your indulgence just for one final second, because today the college has been supporting a very important campaign, the Show Must Be Paused campaign. Our communications and all of our activities were paused throughout the day. We didn't want to cancel the quiz this evening. We hoped that it would be fun for everybody, and we knew that everybody needed a bit of fun right now. More importantly than that, you had all paid to take part in this quiz. So we obviously wished to honour that. But so too do we wish to take this opportunity to say that the RNCM stands in solidarity with the Black and minority ethnic community, that we stand against racism, and we support the fight for social justice and for racial equality. That we will continue to work to make the RNCM an inclusive and diverse community, and we will continue to reflect on how we can always do more as an institution. Thank you very much. A little bit of a serious note to end on, but it's really important for all of us at the college that we let you know that. I thought I saw one final hand go up at the end, but I'm not sure I did. Did I see a final hand go up at the end, or no? No? Okay, so thank you all very, very much for taking part. Pete, a huge thank you, and a huge thank you to Chris. You should do a duet to play us out, guys. Or maybe
I'll
Chris,
leave it to Chris.
An interesting combination of tuning, I think.
I tried to play along with you earlier.
But I'd really love to play on the Beatles grand piano.
Maybe we can make that happen. Okay, brilliant. I do have one final question. Have we got time to bring in Daniel very quickly? Daniel was our former student. If you want to say something very quickly, Daniel, let's see if we can bring you in to say something to Chris and to Pete before we go. No? It takes a little while to get
hello.
in.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for sharing everything, Pete. It's been really intriguing to know your story. It's been fascinating. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you, everybody.